we've got some news that's just come in, where Donald Trump has apparently interrupted his meeting with European leaders to call Vladimir Putin. And Trump is to resume his meeting with the leaders after his call with Putin. So Donald Trump is dialing the phone. He is dialing the numbers. He's apparently called Vladimir Putin. This of course, is the latest bit of information that has just come in, and it now remains to be seen as to how soon that trilateral or the four-way meeting, the quadrilateral meeting, could happen, which would also include the European stakeholders whenever that meeting would happen, which would bring the Russian president, the Ukrainian president, the American president, and the European stakeholders on the same table. It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot that, of course, still that needs to happen. Ambassador Bitalik, your reaction on the fact that the American president is not wasting any time. He's talking to the European leaders behind closed doors, but at the same time we're getting information that he's dialed the Russian president and is apparently speaking to him.
First of all, Donald Trump had announced that he will call on Vladimir Putin once the meeting with the Europeans over. Yes, he had announced. But at the same time, it's perhaps logical in this situation that Trump tries, let's say, to get the reassurance of Putin that he is not willing to block a certain situation. I mentioned this before. Security guarantees, yes. No NATO security guarantees, okay. A US security guarantee, perhaps implemented by some Europeans, perhaps yes. Is there against the Russian veto or not? And therefore, I think it's worthwhile to call the other side to ask, well, do you agree with such a solution or not?
Right.
And this could be an important, let's say, step forward in order towards, let's say, even towards a ceasefire.
Right. Now, I also want you to weigh in on what the Russian sources had been saying before Vladimir Putin spoke with Donald Trump last Friday, where apparently the proposal that was on the table was for the Ukrainians to cede the entire of the Donbas and the Zaporizhia regions. In return, the Russians would return some part of the Sumy and the Kharkiv regions in the north. Do you think the reason why we don't have a ceasefire is because the Russians want to keep progressing and take as much territory as they can before they settle for a peace deal?
I think you're right. Due to the weakness of our own forces in numbers, the Ukrainians are, slowly way back in the east, in the Donbas. And the result will be that the Russians would like to get, at the end of the day, the whole of Donetsk and Lugansk. This means the whole Donbas. And therefore, it's a bit easy towards the Russians to offer, to freeze the front lines in Kherson and Zaporizhia, because they want to maintain the control of a nuclear power plant of Zaporizhia, and they want to maintain the land link towards Crimea through Ukraine. This is more important, than the whole rest. And okay, we offer to withdraw from pockets of territory they control in Sumy and Kharkiv. Well, it's a bit secondary at the end of the day. The key for the Russians is they want to get, for the moment, the whole Donbas.
They want Donbas because that is where, 80% of Ukraine's industrialized area is. That is where the Ukrainians also have their rare earth metals. I want my producer to get that map, which... Go ahead, Ambassador.
Don't forget, the Donbas has been the key one of the key areas of the Soviet armament industry.
Absolutely.
All the armored vehicles of the Soviet army came from this region, and 50% of the Russian air forces for the planes too. Antonov is the key player in that region. But this whole region is destroyed for the moment. Therefore, question mark about the real importance. For the Russians, for me, it's symbolic. They want to get this area, and in my eyes, they do not abandon at the end the idea to get at least the control of Ukraine as a whole.
And also, Ambassador, we'll get that map which was shown by Donald Trump to Volodymyr Zelensky, and it did appear, in their interaction, that Volodymyr Zelensky was interested in that map that was shown to him. Now, it's a matter of speculation. Is this the line where Donald Trump wants the war to, in fact, freeze, if one could so put it? And is this going to be acceptable to the Ukrainian president? Because today, the Ukrainian president, in that interaction that he had with the other European stakeholders, did not keep insisting that he could not cede territory. He spoke instead about the Ukrainian children that had been taken away by the Russians. He spoke about the Ukrainians that had been arrested by the Russians, the Ukrainian journalists and some of the other Ukrainians, and he wanted them all back. But he did not keep talking about territory. We'll try to get that map on our screens in a bit. But do you think that is a map that Donald Trump has told him is what a peace deal map of Ukraine could look like?
I think this is the map the Russians, Putin has presented to Donald Trump at the end of the day. And he wants to see whether the Ukrainians could accept it. But please, recognition is one of the most difficult subjects for Zelensky. For Zelensky at home, in his parliament, in his population. And perhaps the Ukrainians have accepted at the end or taken as a result to give away the Crimea. But I've doubts whether the Ukrainians can accept as it is, let's say, a final abandoning of the Donbas. Therefore, we could perhaps react in different status questions.
Right.
Perhaps abandon the Crimea, but take, let's say, an intermediate solution for the Donbas. Therefore, this map is important, but it doesn't show, let's say, the end of the whole discussion. Look at the simple mentioning of Zaporizhzhia. Zaporizhzhia is for the Ukrainians a question of their independence. Right. It's one of the nuclear power plants in Europe. It's built by the Russians control it, and for the Ukrainians is, let's say, one of the images of independence vis-à-vis Russia again.
Right, and my final question to you, Ambassador, is also this. We saw the European stakeholders there, the top leadership, the British Prime Minister, the French President, the German Chancellor, everyone was on the table. All of them said that, yes, they are looking for peace. But do you think there is a realization in the European leadership that they can no longer rely on the American security umbrella to deal and to ensure European security? And is there now going to be a change in their approach on how they manage European security?
Well, I don't think that the Americans will abandon NATO or leave NATO. They will maintain it. But I think this negotiation is the last real wake-up call to the Europeans to assure on their own, largely on their own, their security. And if the Europeans do not wake up now, well, I regret they have missed really a crucial situation in history. They have to wake up now.
I think that's something that will be thought about and will be spoken about in the European capitals. We're completely out of time. Thank you very much indeed. Go ahead.
We meet tomorrow afternoon in Brussels. The 27 will meet at the level of heads of state and government to discuss the consequences of this summit in Washington.
Indeed, this is a summit in Washington that will have far-reaching ramifications for the security of Europe as a whole. Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador Vitaly, for joining us with that perspective. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
A pleasure too, dear Mohamed Saleh.
Thank you.
Goodbye.